teachers, I wanted to jump on here again and give you another quick and easy game idea to use in online lessons. So this one I call Bingo Board. It's very straightforward and very easy. I like it because it's very adaptable and you can really customize it to meet your student needs, so it covers a wide range of levels. It's really wonderful for introducing new music. Primarily because what it's designed to do, and what I use it for, is to really engage students visually in their score. So one thing challenging about online lessons, of course, is that you're not sitting next to them. And when we sit next to them, often we're always pointing to the music and showing them things. And if they can't find something, you know, we don't use words to tell them things. We use our hand and we point to things, right? So what's tricky about online lessons is we find ourselves talking a lot and describing things, and students don't always understand that language. They don't always know what we're talking about when we're trying to describe where it is. So an example would be, I might tell a student to look at measure 6. So to me, measure 6 is really obvious because I know that the square with a 6 means measure 6. But if you were sitting next to a student in person, you would just point to that. You might say measure 6, but you would still point to it and direct them. So this game serves two purposes. It's a really fun way to engage them in the score and help them look for things and find things. And because you can't point, they have to really think and look and find it themselves. That process can be a slow process, so you have to be patient, but it's a really good thing for them to experience, and they will get quicker, and in the long term, they are going to be better learners because they're going to be finding things themselves, they're going to develop more confidence, they're going to remember better, all of those things. And then of course the second thing it helps students understand sort of the language of describing their music, if that makes sense, not so much describing quarter note and half note, but things like measure 5, measure 6, line 2, section A, section B, all of that. So they'll start to learn to understand the things that you're saying to them. And then what's really amazing is they'll be able to talk back to you like that. So 3 years in, it didn't take 3 years to do this, but the exciting part is I went on, and I'm trying to remember when this first happened, but it was so exciting when a student would say to me, well, I have a question about measure 5. So when you hear a 7 or 8-year-old say that to you, that's really exciting because they're really engaged in their score and they're really thinking and they're even practicing better. They're noticing things and they're able to have that language and come to you and ask questions. So it does all of those things. Super flexible. It's a fun, interactive way to engage them in the score. And then it teaches them how to talk about their music. So communication between both of you will be better even though you're not right next to each other. So I will explain, I'll kind of show you the game now. So the first thing you want to do for this game is apply it to whatever piece of music you're learning. So I picked an elementary piece because I've seen lots of questions about working with elementary students. So this is the Song of the Scarecrow from the Favor Level 1 Red Book. So I'm going to turn my screen around here so you can see my bingo board, and I'll try to kind of keep my face in so you're not just looking at a blank board. So what I did is I kind of set this up. I hope you can see it okay. My lighting in this room is not perfect for video making because this was a very impromptu thing that just came up this week. So here's my bingo board. It looks a little bit more like a tic-tac-toe board because it's just 3 by 3, so you can make it bigger, but I find for the time that I have in a lesson, a 3 by 3 is just fine. So I picked some different things in the music. So these cards that you see that you can tell look like bot cards are the music symbol cards from Music Mind Games. There's 2 different decks. The orange backs are the level 1 set of cards, and the white backs are the deck 2. I don't know if it's called level 2 or deck 2 of the cards. So, but I always add in things that might not be in these music symbol cards. So I just took some index cards and cut them. So I've added some time signatures. And particularly in this Scarecrow piece, I want students to understand melody and accompaniment or harmony because that's going to affect balance and their dynamics. So I've added a card for melody and accompaniment and harmony. And just because I like color and I like things to pop online, I just took a highlighter and outlined the outsides to make it look prettier, really. So this works a little bit different, I guess, than a traditional bingo game. So what I would do is just call out a card, and I would just call from the board. So Again, it gives the teacher a little bit of control over what you're asking them, so you don't have to ask them the easiest ones, or they don't get to just pick the easiest ones, right? So I would say, maybe I would say, can you find a time signature? And they would look at their music, and assuming they knew what a time signature was, they might say, oh, yeah, I see that. I see it at the very beginning. What is that called? I think it's called 3/4, or they might say 3/4. Sometimes that happens, and you can correct them and say, oh, yes, that's 3, but it's pronounced 3/4. But anyway, then they would get a spot on that bingo card. I think the important thing with this game is to not treat it like a test. Just to kind of coach them through and help them learn as they go, kind of an exploration and a discovery rather than, that was the wrong answer. So you want to help them find the right answer, help them think through that. So then I might say, let's see, do you see any of those in your music? And I would just say those. And so they would look and go, wow, I see those everywhere. And then I might say, well, do you remember how many beats are those going to get? And so you can kind of just talk through things, and then they would get, after you discuss it, then they can get their bingo chip. And then I might say, oh, do you see a spot where you play softly? Now in this piece, I'll guarantee you, I've taught this enough times, they always miss this because of course it's indicating to play the left hand quieter, and then there's another one here. But they tend to just see this, okay? So they would look, and they're like, there's none there, I know there's none there. I'm like, no, keep looking, there is. And what I will do, if they really, if you've taken enough time and they really can't find what you're looking for, I'll say, are you ready for a hint? Would you like a hint? And they'll be like, yeah, I think I'm ready for a hint. And I'll say, well, look in the very first line. It's in the very first line. And they might even still be convinced that there's nothing there. And pretty soon they'll be like, oh, I found it! It's in the first measure, there it is! And then we'll make a joke about it hiding. So you can have lots of fun and really develop that rapport and that relationship and have fun with the student just through this simple game. And then, of course, they would get their other bingo. So then they'd have a bingo. So you could do just a bingo, just like you would with a bingo. You could do diagonal or across. You could also do the full card if you have time to do that. So there's lots of different things that you can do with this really simple game. So if you don't have, so you can make your own cards. These just have, I have magnetic, really thin magnetic tape on the back. It just comes in a roll like Scotch tape. Walmart.com is the best place to find that stuff online. I'm not sure what's available right now and how things are working, but if you can get it delivered or get it for pickup, Michael's has a lot of magnetic things. I'm not sure about Joanne Fabrics, but I would check online and see who's delivering and what you can get if you want some of that. And then same thing with these cards. These do not come magnetized, okay, these music mind games. I just basically magnetized everything solely for the purpose of teaching online. So I'll link these cards in the comments in case you want those, but you could easily make your own out of just index cards. Then if you don't have a magnetic dry erase, which I realize not everyone has one of those, I just wanted to show another way. You can just draw something out on paper like this. I just happen to have orange cardstock. You can use white paper, whatever you have. So this isn't really about the product as much as the process of how you're working with the student. And then another option, and just to kind of show how you can step it up level-wise, I made a bigger board on my dry erase, so then you can just save trees and keep erasing it. What I did is I put some, you can put other things like triplets, dolce, allegro, subito, all these different things that you might have in more advanced music, but it's the same thing. It still really gets students looking in the score, so that's good at any level as they're looking for those things. And what better time to do that when they're starting a brand new piece, so it really sets them up to succeed. And one thing I forgot to mention as I was going along, especially with my elementary students, as we go through these symbols, obviously not concepts like melody and harmony, but with things like dynamics, different tempo changes, I'll have them go ahead and circle them or mark them in some way in their music. If they have some erasable, colorful things like highlighters, gel pens, erasable colored pencils, we'll use those. I allow my students to write in their method books with things that aren't erasable. We just take our time and go very slow so that they don't do things incorrectly, so we don't have, you know, kind of crazy scribbled music. So that's your choice what you want them to do, but that way they're marking things as well so that it carries with them from week to week. So I hope that's helpful. The bingo board, very adaptable, interactive, and fun way to engage them in the score on their own, and they're really going to learn better that way. So I hope that was helpful, and happy teaching. Bye-bye.